Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, and I'm here today with attorney Alex Palamara, and we're going to discuss one of Alex's recently resolved cases against the Hartford Disability Insurance Company. And Alex, it's always great to talk about the success stories on behalf of the client. So in this video, let's talk about the little bit of the background of this case, some of the things that you had to deal with, and some of the strategies that you put in place to help our client get her benefits reinstated. So if you could start with, what was the background of the case?
So my client reached out to us after she was denied benefits or continued benefits from Hartford. She's actually on claim for 2 years, and what Hartford and many insurance companies do is, they typically deny people after the 2-year mark, because at the 2-year mark there's typically what's known as a change in definition of disability. So most group disability insurance policies for the first 2 years, to be disabled you have to be unable to perform the duties of your own occupation. Then after 2 years, typically you have to be unable to perform the duties of any occupation for which you're, taking into account your training, education, and experience. So this case is kind of typical in that scenario where the insurance company denied at the 24-month mark that most people will see if they're on claim. They might get denied at that point. So my client, for a little background, she worked for Phillips 66, the big oil company.
Okay.
She worked as her job is called a combination operator, which is basically a refinery operator. Not a sedentary job by any means, kind of a tough job. Unfortunately for her, she suffered from rheumatoid arthritis and other conditions, forced to stop working in 2017, and thankfully her employer had this policy, this long-term disability insurance policy, and it was with Hartford. And she filed a claim for benefits, and initially the claim was approved, and things were going great. She made a good salary at Phillips 66. She didn't want to stop working. She could have kept on working. She had every financial incentive to keep on working. But luckily she had this policy, and thankfully the claim was initially approved. And she was paid for 2 years, actually a little bit more than 2 years. But after the 2-year mark, something funny happened, and she gets a denial letter from the insurance company. And the denial letter, why I say it's funny is because the reasons why they denied her is kind of, it's just not very good reasons.
So not funny, but ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right.
And what was the basis for the denial?
So a few things. So one of her doctors filled out a form, and in the form it said that, she could do sedentary or light work on a kind of a part-time basis, a couple hours per day. So the insurance company gets that and runs with it. They do their own review and their own, paper review. They didn't have her seen by any doctors, but they hired a quote-unquote independent consultant to perform a review. And this doctor comes back and says there's no restrictions, limitations whatsoever. So they take this review, they go to one of their in-house vocational analysts. Vocational analyst says, all right, the doctor says you have no restrictions, limitations. We find you can do all these jobs that qualify under any occupation. And what's ridiculous about it is that one of the occupations they said that she can do is her own occupation. So why the heck were they paying her for 2 years if they found that she couldn't do her own occupation? Now they're saying you're not disabled from any occupation. In fact, you can do your own occupation now.
I want to back you up a second. Did they ever examine her?
Never.
Okay, so how could they deny the claim just by reviewing the medical records?
It's sad, but the way we are, the way the laws and the way the case laws that surround these group disability insurance policies, most of them are governed by ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And the case law says that the insurance companies can rely upon these quote-unquote independent consultant paper reviews. So they don't have to send you to an independent medical examination. They don't have to actually ever lay eyes on you or hands on you, have a doctor ever lay hands on you or evaluate you or in person. They can rely upon these what I call paper reviews. So all they're doing is reviewing the papers of your medical records or your providers, and that's all they're doing. And it kind of doesn't really seem fair how a doctor who's actually treating you over the course of months or years has an opinion, and these consultants can come in and say, I disagree with that. I'm looking at his own records, and I'm disagreeing with those records, or her own records, I'm disagreeing with them.
Was there any change in her medical condition where she got better?
Not whatsoever, none whatsoever. In fact, just before Hartford denied her claim, her Social Security disability claim was approved. And that's a different entity, an independent entity, reviewing medical records and saying, yeah, we find you disabled from any occupation as well, so we're paying your benefits. And the crazy part is, right before Hartford denied her claim, they demand an overpayment, saying, oh, you got to prove for Social Security, that's great, congratulations. Well, that's actually good for us because now we get to pay you less and you owe us money because we were paying a certain amount of money for the last 24 months. Now we should actually have been paying you less because Social Security is paying you for that same time period. Give us $24,000 back, and by the way, here's a denial letter.
So Hartford knew she got approved by the government for Social Security, which is unable to perform basically any occupation, which is the same exact definition that changed after 24 months for your client.
Right.
And they wanted money back. So they're like, we accept their determination and pay us back, and by the way, we're cutting you off.
Exactly.
Okay. That's when she gets in touch with you, and what were you able to do, and how did you assist her to get her Hartford disability benefits paid?
Well, the first thing we did is order a copy of the claim file from Hartford, because the claim file is the most important document. All the documentation that she submitted, her providers have submitted, and all the documentation that Hartford has created under claim, including that consultant's report, is all going to be in there.
Okay.
So a few things we did is we got the consultant's report. There had to be holes in that consultant report because of my client saying she's disabled. Her medical records are pretty darn supportive, so I know if there's going to be holes in that consultant's report. So the first thing we did was we find those holes. We have to plug those holes and tell Hartford why that consultant's report is wrong. Next thing we did was we had to remedy, when her doctor said that she can perform part-time work on a sedentary or light duty basis, well, I want to speak with the doctor and clarify what he meant by that.
Her treating doctor said that?
Her treating doctor
Okay.
said that. Because sometimes these doctors fill out forms and they fill them out in 2 seconds, and maybe they put one check mark box, they don't realize the impact it may have, and Hartford kind of misconstrues something, they don't ask for clarification, they just run with it. So I spoke to the doctor to figure out what he actually meant, and truth be told, he didn't actually mean that she can do a part-time work, on an everyday basis. He kind of meant that she could do it here or there, but no way could she ever work 40 hours of work, or even partially, even 20 hours a week at a sedentary or light duty job. And we also got the Social Security disability claim file. So essentially we got updated records, updated support from all the treating providers, fixed that one treating provider's questionable form from earlier, Social Security disability claim file, and gave arguments as to why Hartford's decision was just ridiculous and wrong, and how she can't do her own occupation or any occupation, and pointing out the fact that they paid her for 2 years saying you can't do your own occupation, but now we're saying you can, and there's no way because she never magically got better overnight.
And I know with this situation of how the doctor basically, but for that doctor's mistake, maybe she didn't get denied, and we see that as one of the top 10 classic reasons why claims get denied. Here you have a combination of a change of definition, and you have a doctor who's saying you can do some work, and when Hartford sees that the doctor says you can do some work, then they basically take whatever they can to try to deny the claim.
And yes, you have to always be careful of what you submit to the insurance companies or what your doctors submit to the insurance companies. But the insurance companies are tricky. They do this for a living. The forms themselves sometimes are tricky, and they're tricky on purpose so they can, misconstrue on purpose, what the doctor is saying and deny your claim. So you have to be very careful whether you're applying for benefits or on claim for a year or 2 or even 5 years. The insurance company is always looking to deny your claim.
And I know on this claim, when we were working on it and putting together our strategy for how we wanted to present the appeal, we also decided to have the client do a functional capacity exam, which was a very important piece of information. Can you explain what that was and how it was helpful for you to win benefits in this case?
Well, in essence, we send our client to a third-party physical therapist to run our client through physical testing. It's not just 15 minutes where a fake, some of these insurance companies do independent medical examinations where they sit with our client for 5 minutes at most, ask them some questions, maybe watch them walk, and I don't know. It's always a very questionable procedure that they typically do. But we send our clients to these evaluations where an independent party runs them through testing for a course of hours to gauge what their level of abilities are. And our clients' results from this independent examination came back at less than sedentary. So there's no way our client could do her own job as a refinery operator. There's no way she can do any job sitting for 40 hours a week, 50 to 52 weeks a year. So there's just no way that she could perform any occupation. And this functional capacity evaluation gave us additional support for her claim that even put us above and beyond the edge. We proved it many times over. So Hartford had no choice whatsoever but to reapprove this lady's claim.
And I know when it was all done and we finally put this appeal in, we had about 30 to 40 pages of an appeal plus hundreds of pages of additional medical support. So it was a fairly extensive presentation, and thankfully Hartford reversed their decision and put her back on claim. And I wanted people to understand that when a benefit gets reversed, what happens is you get the back payment of the benefits that you were owed going back to the day you were denied, and then Hartford places you back on claim, and unfortunately they continue to evaluate the claim on a month-to-month basis, because a person at Hartford who's on the claim is responsible, has an obligation to Hartford as their employer to say, is this person eligible or not? And every month they basically have to complete paperwork before they send payments. And I know that you're continuing to represent her on a monthly basis to make sure that we do everything possible so she doesn't get her benefits denied again in the future.
100%.
So if you have a Hartford long-term disability insurance claim or having any issues whatsoever with the Hartford, feel free to give Alex or myself a call. We'll immediately provide you with a free consultation, and we'll let you know how we can assist you. Thank you for considering working with us. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.